Hey everyone, we are live. Welcome to the AMA Sunday night show. So basically, this is what I do. I go live every Sunday night for half an hour to answer your questions about Facebook advertising. So I've been doing this for about 2 months right now. Yeah, this is already the episode 8. We have been doing this for about 2 months already. So the whole idea started as a very simple concept where I just want to come live to actually talk to all of you who are my my friends. Whether you're actually watching this on YouTube or you're watching this on the Facebook group, I just want to hang out with you and spend some time with you to answer some of the Facebook ads related questions that you have. So yeah, this is Jason. If this is the first time we met, welcome to the AMA Sunday night show. So if you have any questions regarding Facebook advertising, feel free to type in the comment below because I'll be able to read these on my StreamYard because I'm actually streaming this on StreamYard. So I'll be answering your questions. But while waiting for your questions to come in, I actually have prepared some of the things that I want to discuss with you today. But feel free to type your questions below. And if you're watching this, please draw me a hi and let me know where are you watching this from. Because I understand that my audiences are actually watching from several countries already. We have Malaysia as our base. This is where I'm from. I just received a message from some of you asking, hey, am they thought that I'm a Filipinos. It's the Asian feature. So we are like a whole big family here, right? So I'm from Malaysia. My name is Jason. I've been helping brands big and small navigating success on Facebook advertising and digital marketing since 2010. So since 2010, I've been running a digital agency. A boutique one, despite, and then I started teaching in 2016. And over the years, I've learned with over, 4,000 to 5,000 people right now, over 5,000 people right now. And I mainly talk about Facebook advertising. So yeah, I mean, just feel free to type your questions below. But while we are waiting for you to come in, and I actually have something to actually make an announcement. First thing first, a few things over here. So first thing first, TribeUp Academy is now a preferred Facebook agency under Facebook Partner Program. It's quite an achievement for myself, to be very frank, because as I understand from my account manager, now one of the key features being in an agency is you'll be assigned an account manager. And what we do is on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, we will actually have a check-in call. And they will actually go over my account and give you recommendations, or I can ask any Facebook ads related questions. So I learn things from them, and I already have something to share with you. So on top of that, as a preferred agency, let me show you what we're going to get, right? A lot of people are kind of excited because I announced it on my Facebook group and everywhere. So basically, as a preferred agency, as you can see here, there you go. I'm a preferred tier already. And there's several things that we need to achieve, that we need to actually fulfill in order to become the preferred agency. First thing first, we need to spend. This is actually the amount that my business manager has actually managed and guided. So under my business manager account, overall, all the ads accounts that I'm actually monitoring and coaching, I spent more than $325,000 in the past 180 days. And the second thing is, that you need to actually meet at least 80% qualifying spend and, at least 50% placement optimization, where, as you can see here, everything is actually passing. And when we are a preferred agency, we have got a few so-called benefits over here. So this is actually our so-called agency portal, or we call this the partner portal. So as you can see here, my status is now preferred over here on the top right. And yeah, a few things that we get basically, on top of whatever we're getting as a normal agency is, first thing first, we get this directory listing, and we have the opportunity to be featured under the agency success story. But I'm yet to find out all these things because we just got it approved on Friday. So yeah, and of course, the thing that I'm most excited about is I'm actually getting this Blueprint certification exam vouchers, whereby, as what I understand from here is I'm able to actually send 6 person. I'm able to redeem 6 vouchers, although each person can only redeem one voucher, where I'm going to get my whole team certified. Of course, that's the first thing that we're going to do. And of course, we're going to have some workshops coming in. And then we have in-person Blueprint training. That is also something that I wanted to explore. Yeah. So this is how being a Facebook preferred agency partner looks like. Actually, nothing special. It's just that now we have, in a way, we have a different support that we are getting from Facebook, whereby we are able to, directly contact them for a lot of different kind of support. So at the moment, it's actually very interesting because if you followed me, right, we actually stopped taking new clients since 2020. However, we are still taking coaching clients, whereby all the coaches that I'm working with, we do weekly check-in calls, coaching calls, where we will monitor their campaign. We will teach them what are the things that we should do in order to create optimized campaign and all that. So on our hand, we have several coaching clients, and I'm glad that these coaching clients are seeing good result. We've been together for many months right now, and that's how we get into a preferred agency partner. So that's how the whole thing works. So basically, as I shared in my last AMA session, I have just passed my so-called the Facebook Blueprint Buying Professional exam. It's a recertification exam where I've been certified since 2017, and in order to stay certified, I need to actually, basically I need to, go through the exam again. It's like a recertification exam. So I just completed mine last week. And one of the things that I realized, and kind of like Facebook emphasized a lot in the learning material that I went through, is there was one thing called the campaign liquidity. So last week we talked about campaign liquidity in terms of the budget liquidity. Now today I want to talk about campaign liquidity for Facebook ads machine learning, which is I want to talk about the ad placement liquidity. Now, remember there are 4 things that Facebook emphasizes a lot when it comes to their machine learning. They say that you need to keep these 4 items liquid, as in, you want to actually go slightly broader in order for the machine learning to kick in. And one thing I realized, and I strongly believe, and somehow I feel it strongly, is Facebook has a very, very strong confidence in their machine learning right now. So all the learning materials is very much talking about how powerful is the machine learning and how can they help us optimize our Facebook ads campaign. So when it comes to campaign liquidity for Facebook ads machine learning, one of the very important thing that they're talking about is the ad placement. So when it comes to Facebook advertising objective, you can actually choose where you want your ads to be displayed. I mean, as in where you want your ads to show. So we have 4 main placement options over here. So first we have Facebook, of course, Instagram, okay, Messenger, and Audience Network. So Audience Network essentially are those so-called other mobile apps that actually display Facebook ads. Last time used to be involving, some other so-called websites, but Facebook stopped doing the website thing. So Audience Network now fundamentally are in those so-called mostly the mobile apps. So basically, it could be games, like for example, when you're playing game halfway through, suddenly before you proceed to the next stage, there will be an advertisement pops up, right? That could be an ad. So that's how the whole thing works. So when it comes to placement, Facebook has 2 types of placement, which is, the auto placement and manual placement. So they actually emphasize a lot. So I would like to quickly go through when should you be using auto placement. Now, when it comes to auto placement, what does it mean here is when it's inside the ad set level, basically under, the placement option, which is there are several columns. Inside the ad set level, you have the audience, the budget, and optimization, and one of them is placement. So inside there, if you don't change anything, the default selection is actually the auto placement. Now, when you select auto placement, basically you'll be selecting all placement options that is available for the objective that you're selecting. So what is going to happen is Facebook is going to run your ads in all the available placements, such as, including Audience Network, which is other mobile apps, including mobile so-called Facebook news feed, including Messenger feed and all this. So Facebook will run your ads, in an optimized distribution of your budget, and they will find which are the opportunity that is able to help you get the best result with the lowest cost. So when it comes to manual auto placement, meaning that you're actually giving Facebook the full authority to choose where your ads is going to be shown. So this is actually the most so-called preferred, or the default selection, and Facebook always prefer you to actually go by the auto placement, because according to the machine learning, when you go for auto placement, you're actually giving, you're giving the machine learning a lot more freedom to learn, and they are able to help you get the optimum result in a more effective manner. But when it comes to our methodology, auto placement is something that, like I said, you're giving all the controls away. So when would I choose auto placement? For those who know, I have this 2-step funnel framework when it comes to my advertising so-called methodology. So our tier 1 campaign is really going out to target the fresh audiences, whereby I want to reach as many people as possible. And then once they have taken certain action, I will funnel them to the second tier, which is, I know you have watched my video. I know you have actually visited my website. I want to show you the other ad to retarget you, to follow you, to make sure that you take the action that I want you to take. That's essentially what we do in the two-step funnel framework. So if you're new to this, right, I would suggest that you go to my YouTube channel and look for two-step funnel framework. And I have a very specific video explaining how it works. So when it comes to using my two-step funnel framework, I will use auto placement for my tier 2, which is the second ad. Tier 1 ad is to target the fresh audiences, and tier 2 ad is to really target those warm audiences that have taken certain action, which in my opinion, they have indicated interest and intent in my product or services. The reason why I only use auto placement for my tier 2 campaign, which is the warm audiences, is because I want to create, first thing first, my warm audiences are relatively of smaller audience size. So when they are smaller audience size, I'll be spending a lot smaller budget on these people. And when I am able to spend small budget, and one thing I want to achieve is I want to actually create this kind of omni-channel presence among these audiences, meaning that I want you to feel that this guy is crazy. Wherever I go, I see the advertisement from this guy. So that's how I do. So I would do it. I would use auto placement on my tier 2 campaign, and to create this kind of omni-channel presence. But for those who know it, when you're able to do our tier 1 and tier 2 two-step funnel framework, you only spend very little money on your tier 2, and you can create crazy exposure, among these audiences. You can create different kind of thing. You can actually appear every time they log into Facebook. But trust me, I'm spending very, very, very minimal budget. For those who are being retargeted by me right now, you probably see my ads every time you come into your newsfeed, whether you're on Facebook or Instagram or when you're playing other games. Trust me, I'm spending very, very minimal, to the extent that you won't be able to believe it. It's so low, but it's so effective. So that's how I use the auto placement. I will only use it for our tier 2. On the other hand, when should you be using the manual placement? Now, this is how I do it. Like I said, when it comes to our two-step funnel framework, where we have the tier 1 targeting the fresh audience and tier 2 targeting the warm audiences, I will use manual placement on my tier 1. Why? Because I want to make sure that I'm showing my ads on the right platform where my audiences are more ready to take action, which in my opinion, I don't want my ads to be shown on the audience network, which is essentially the other mobile apps, such as games. You just imagine, while you're playing game halfway, out of a sudden my advertisement pops up. You may accidentally click on it, but you have no intention to visit me, because at that state, you're not interested in anything. You're just interested in your bloody game, right? So I don't want that kind of scenario to happen. So for my tier 1 campaign, I wouldn't do anything. Okay, I wouldn't actually run I wouldn't use the auto placement. I would use manual placement. So I would only choose like, news feed, Instagram feed, and messenger feed. But there is a rule of thumb where I learned from my recent blueprint exam revision, is that Facebook says that if you want to go for manual placement, minimum choose at least 4 placement. Minimum choose at least four placement to make sure that the machine learning can kick in full swing. So that's their advice when it comes to manual placement. So yeah, so that's how I use manual placement. So essentially, auto placement or manual placement. Now, when it comes to Facebook advertising, you can control your ad set placement inside the ad set level. I mean, your advertisement placement. So essentially, you're trying to control where you want your ads to show, whether you want to show it on the news feed, or whether you want to show it on the story, or you want to show it on other mobile apps. So you have different ways of controlling. So basically, like I said, when should you be using auto? When should you be using manual? I would use auto placement only for my tier 2 campaign, which is, if you know my two-step funnel framework. Yet again, if you're new to this, Google and find, go to my YouTube channel and search for two-step funnel framework, and you will understand how we use the tier 1 to target fresh audience and tier 2 to target warm audiences. So when I will use auto placement only for my tier 2 campaign, which is I just want to create that kind of omni-channel presence among the audiences to make them feel that, I'm like everywhere they go. So, but with minimum spend, I'm able to achieve that kind of result. However, I will use manual placement for my tier 1 campaign, whereby I just want to make sure that I'm actually targeting my audiences at the placement or at the environment that they are more ready to take action on my advertisement. So that's how I will use the differences between auto placement and manual placement. So that's what I have. All right. So yeah, let's take a look. We have Jun here, Jun Chen. Okay, Junchen has a question. So let me bring this up. Junchen has a question. Do you advise to run ads promoting 2 dates webinar on a landing page? Meaning that you have a landing page that features 2 dates. You know, is that what you mean? 2 webinar. I mean, 1 webinar, but you feature 2 dates. I've tried that before. Yes, I did. And if you ask me if there's anything I learned, I would say that you should actually highlight 1 date at a time, because when you have 2 dates, people start thinking, people start checking calendar, and then they stop taking action. So that's how I would approach it. I would only show you 1 date. However, I may actually give you an option and say that the date is not available. I mean, the date is not suitable for you. Sign up for, you know, for for email notification when we launched it the next time, as in like when we actually release the next date. So that at least you make sure that you're actually getting those people who are interested in, who are ready on that particular date. And at the same time, you're also capturing the database of those people who are interested, and they are keen enough to give you their email to make sure that you send them email when you release the next date. So that's how I will approach this, Junchen. I hope I answered your question. Thank you so much. Now, then we have the follow-up question, or promote 1 date at a time, because shared 1 session will be lesser people. I agree. That's how I will approach this thing as well, Junchen. So yeah, that's how I think it should be done. All right, so if you're watching this by accident, if you stumble upon this YouTube channel or the Facebook group by accident, you have no idea what's going on, I'm Jason, and we are running this Ask Me Anything Sunday night show. Essentially, what I do is every Sunday night at 10 p.m. Malaysia time, GMT +8, I'll go live for half an hour, just a quick one, to answer some questions they will have regarding Facebook advertising. So you can either join me. I would strongly encourage that you join me live. It's just half an hour. It won't take up so much of your time to ask your questions. Or, however, if you can't, you can post your questions inside the Facebook group, or you can actually drop me a DM on my Facebook page. So I will go over them whenever I go live, which is every Sunday at 10 p.m. So yeah, so I'm actually, feel free to type your questions like what Junchen did, right, in your comment section. So whether you're watching this, Junchen is watching this on YouTube channel, on my YouTube channel, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're watching it on Facebook group, feel free to just type your question in. All right, so yeah, while waiting for your question, I actually have a few more so-called topics for discussion as I prepared up. This could be from the questions that I received from my coaches, from my students, and even for the, some I received via DMs and all that. And I really appreciate these questions. So let me go over where were we right now. Yeah, another thing that I kind of like noticed when I was actually learning, going through the revision for my Facebook Blueprint Buying Professional recertification exam, what I went through was a refresh exam. So I only need to go through about 50 minutes, 50, less than an hour, 50 minutes of learning. These are all the video learning and all that. So I went through, and apart from the campaign liquidity that I actually spent the last episode and this episode discussing, and maybe the next one as well, because we have different things coming in. And I just want to make sure that I cover as much as possible to share with you. Now, the other thing that I noticed that they mention heavily compared to previous years when I went through the learning was actually the exclusion. And I totally agree, because for the past many years, I always tell my students and my coaches that exclusion is one of the things that a lot of advertisers forgot to do. And when they forgot to do this thing, eventually you'll be actually making your campaign a lot less effective. So what could be excluded? So when you're running a Facebook ads campaign, for example, it's very simple theory. I just want you to wrap your mind around what is Facebook ads exclusion. Now, when you're actually trying to drive people to visit your website, my question is, are you excluding those people who visited your website because of this ad? You get what I mean? If I've seen this ad and I've clicked on it and I've visited your website, should I be still seeing this advertisement? I shouldn't. Okay, same thing. If you're using a video as your ad creative, if I've already watched this video maybe up to 50%, say if you have a 1 minute video, I've watched up to 30 seconds, that means I probably spent enough time on your advertisement. Do you think I should stop seeing this particular advertisement? Yeah? If you agree with me, then, my question is, how do you do that? That's why exclusion is really something that a lot of advertisers kind of miss. So that's one thing that you really need to learn. Whatever action that you're aiming for should be excluded from that particular campaign. So let's say, for example, if somebody have watched this video up to 50%, they definitely should stop seeing this video again, because the theory is this: if you have spent 30 seconds on this ad, okay, and then if this and you stop, even no matter how many times this ad comes back to you, you wouldn't take the same action again, because you bloody watched it already. You wouldn't watch it again. This is us, right? Our attention span on social media is so short. So first thing, you should actually exclude, making sure that you're making sure that your ads are not showing to these people who have watched the 50%, up to 50%. Instead, you should show them the next advertisement, because 50% is a lot of time, because 30 seconds, that is a lot of time went into an advertisement itself. So that indicates intent, interest, they are ready. But what you should be doing next is really to retarget them. You should start showing them the next advertisement to actually try to convert them, either to convert them or to educate them or to nurture them. That's what you should be doing. And that is exactly what we do in our two-step funnel framework. So that's what we teach in our 6-day challenge. Oh, by the way, 6-day challenge starts tomorrow. Our 7th session of 6-day challenge starts tomorrow. And basically it's gonna be the first 6-day challenge in 2021. It starts tomorrow. So if you're still interested to join, you can still, I probably send the link in later on, and you can actually click, or you go to my website and look for the 6-day challenge. You can join. Tomorrow we start at 3:30 p.m. It's okay if you can't watch it live. It's okay if you can't join me live, because the replay will be kept inside the Facebook group for 2 weeks. So so that's how I learned with you for 6 days straight to teach you how I built this two-step funnel framework. It's really exciting. In the past few months, I've learned with over 500 people from all around the world, and we have very high success rate. It's totally recommended by most of the audiences that actually we learned with. So that's why exclusion is so important, and that's why you need to learn how to do this in our 6-day challenge. So so that's another thing that I learned among something. Now we have another ad. We have another question from Yongjia. Yongjia, hi. I think this is the first time we met. Should I run multiple ads under one ad set, or just turn on dynamic creative? I think both way works. When you run multiple ads under one ad set, that actually kind of like you're giving away the freedom for the so-called what do we call, for the machine learning to really go and optimize. So they would not, as we all know it would not be distributed evenly. So they would actually find more opportunity. Which one has got better chance of converting, they will show that ads more. However, dynamic creative is really where you just give Facebook, multiple combination of multiple ads, as in like multiple creative and all that. So eventually you're actually letting Facebook to actually create as many versions of the advertisement to make sure that they show the best performing one. However, I personally will prefer multiple ads under one ad set. Not to say I don't believe in dynamic creative, it's just because, at the end of the day, depends on the scenario. I prefer to do it on multiple ads under one ad set, is because I want to see which one has got different, and eventually I will have different way of analyzing on this campaign. But in my opinion, I think both things actually is quite work. It depends on your need. So how I would do it, I would use dynamic creative when I'm bloody sure that these are all the ads that I want to go out. So basically, I like, for example, my 6-day challenge advertisement is a dynamic ad. I don't mind to tell you, right? Of course. So when it comes to dynamic ad, that means that inside there I have 3 videos, and these are the 3 videos that I believe are really important for me to get the right audiences to come in. So I will use dynamic ad, but I will only use 3 videos, but essentially the so-called the what do we call, the text and the headlines and everything are pretty much the same. So that's when I use dynamic ad, and I'm just gonna let the machine go, and eventually I don't really bother much which one, because equally these 3 ads are important to me. However, for my tier 2, my retargeting campaign for my Shopee advertisement, I use multiple ads. As in, like, I want to see which key message, because that in turn I actually have multiple version of ads that actually speaks different key message, and that I want to make sure, I want to have better idea of which one has got better click-through rate, which one has got better conversion rate. That's how I do it. But thanks for the question, Yongjia. So this is where, when should you be using, whether you should be using multiple ads under one ad set, or you should use the dynamic creative. Thank you for the question. Okay, then we have another one, Jun Chen. How do you approach the change of the iOS policy recently? How would you handle this? Focus on content marketing or attract traffic? To be very frank, I would say nothing much you need to do, because nothing much you can do anyway. If really there is anything that is restrictions comes into iOS, you can't do much, because to be frank, we are just an advertiser. It's really Facebook has really deal with this issue. So the only thing that you need to do, in fact, I covered this in my 6th AMA 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, 2 to 3 weeks ago. You can actually go back to my YouTube channel and watch the video again. Yeah, basically, in my opinion, it's not even settled, it's not even confirmed. And today I received an update on iOS, and eventually it actually indicates that now we have more control on this thing. However, it still haven't come to my attention where they're asking me, oh, are you allowing Facebook to collect this data and all that? I haven't seen these kind of changes coming into my iOS environment. And you know, while all the havoc is happening out there, do you notice one thing? Facebook is highlighting, saying that Apple is killing SMEs, and Apple is saying that I'm protecting the user privacy, but no one announced when is this going to take effect. So, well, it may take months, and eventually down the road, when everything really happened, it may not be as complex as we think. But one thing that you need to do is to really get your domain verified. That's the only thing that you can do, and that's the only thing that you must do at the moment. While everything, wait for the settle, whatever, when the dust settle, then we will see what's going to happen. But in my opinion, it's not going to be that bad, to be frank. Privacy policy has been something that has been evolving much in the past few years, and Facebook is already doing a lot better job compared to the past. And I think it's going to be pretty much fine for us. All right, so that's what I think. Thank you so much for your question, Jun Chen. And yeah, remember, if you have any questions, type in the comment below, and I'll be going over them, like what we are doing right now. Thank you so much for joining me. We have more and more people coming in right now, but let me see. I've actually prepared something else as well. Let me see. Oh yeah, my recent conversation with my account manager, we were talking about the auction overlap. Now, auction overlap is really something that I didn't pay much attention, but after discussing with my account manager, I mean, for those who know that we are actually now a preferred agency, and we have this account manager that we can actually get in touch every week. So one thing I learned from my account manager this round is about auction overlap. Now, what is auction overlap? And what is even Facebook Ads Inspection Tool? How many of you actually uses Inspection Tool? Now, let me bring up the screen. So I'm just going to go over to my, I'm just go over to my Facebook Ads Manager. So this is my Facebook Ads Manager. Inspection Tool is over here. This is the inspection tool. And then it's only available inside ad set. If you go back to the campaign level, you don't see it at the campaign level. You only have view charts and all that. But inside the ad set level, then you have this inspect tool. And it's also not available in the ad level. As you can see here, there is nothing here. So it's inside the ad set level. Now, what you can do with inspect tool is that, when you go into the inspect tool, you'll be able to see, all these kind of other things. And of course, you can pull out those different comparison, similar to the view chart, the chart comparison. However, they actually offer a few more insights over here, which is first thing first. This is one of the important one, which is the first time impression, meaning that how many percent of these people actually seeing your ads in the first time. So as you can see here, the first time impression is actually declining. So that indicates that you should start looking into your exclusion, because eventually, if you scroll down further, it will show that your lifetime frequency, or this is what we call the cumulative frequency. You can also see this inside your so-called view chart section. That shows that the cumulative frequency is really increasing. That could be ad fatigue. So what you need to do now, when you're really seeing this trend coming up, you need to look into your exclusion, meaning that you probably want to make your exclusion a little bit more strict. Like, let's say if you're only excluding people who watch your video up to 10 seconds, maybe you need to go to maybe 25% or 50%, because you want to restrict more people. You want to push more people out from seeing this advertisement to control the frequency. That's also something. However, that's not what we want to talk about. What we want to talk about today here is the auction overlap. Now, what is auction overlap? Okay, basically, it doesn't have any indicator. Now, auction overlap means the auction, or so-called the audience overlapping among your ad sets. So let's say, for example, if you have ad sets, for those people who actually practice some method called, you have tens or 20s of ad sets, running simultaneously, and then you want to see which interest gets you the best result and all that. So when you have this kind of scenario or so-called campaign structure going, one of the things that you want to take a look here is the auction overlap. Now, auction overlap means how many percent of your ad sets are so-called overlapping among each other. The audiences are overlapping among each other. Now, the standard or so-called the preferred ratio or percentage is below 20%, meaning that you just want to control everything below 20%. So when you are higher than 20%, what Facebook is going to do is they're going to stop. They're going to remove certain ad sets from the auction mechanism. You have to understand Facebook advertising is an auction and bidding mechanism whereby the highest bidder gets to show the advertisements. Now, when you have too many ads going into the same auction, that simply means that you're competing among each other. So one of the risks that you're facing here is you're definitely paying a lot more than you should because you're actually competing among each other. So you're bidding against each other. So if naturally you should be getting maybe 20 cents per click, you'll be pushed to maybe 50 cents per click, not because of other ads, because of your own ads. So when this thing happens, certain ads will be removed from the auction marketplace, and eventually your whole cost is going to come up. So what Facebook is recommending here is to keep this auction overlap rate at below 20%. So how do you do that? You make sure that you don't have that many ad sets. Remember, the campaign liquidity, which is the machine learning part, Facebook really discourage us to break our campaign into many ad sets. So if you practice this kind of method where you launch campaign usually with maybe 20 to 30 interests to see which one works better, and you scale down, this could be the risk because you're actually not taking full advantage of the so-called the machine learning that Facebook has developed so far. So that's what I want to share with you quickly regarding the auction overlap. Okay, so yeah, let me take a look. We have another question over here coming from Jun Chen. But before that, let me remove this thing. Hang on. Okay, right. So we have a question from Jun Chen. How do we use the 7 days conversion window and 1 day conversion window properly? To be very frank, that one is really on your set. But what I do is very simple. I just let the so-called whatever campaign optimize by itself, because the moment you actually set such strict rule on the 7 day conversion window or 1 day conversion window, you're actually limiting the attribution. Okay, so that also comes back to how much you understand your overall campaign. So do you really understand how many days is your overall optimized conversion window? Because this is really coming back to the so-called the attribution, the tracking. Meaning that if you put 7 days conversion or 1 day conversion, meaning that it's only being tracked if it happens within a day or 7 days. But essentially, it may not be that case. That's why we always just let this to be optimized according to the default setting. Because over time, like I said, we have to trust the machine learning. That's what I would do. I don't really do much settings when it comes to the how many days conversion window and all that, because this really falls back to the attribution. Okay, and thank you for the question. And yeah, Jun Chen was asking with the overlapping, how many ad sets do you recommend as maximum? I can't say just plug like that. It depends on the scenario. It depends on the overall campaign structure that you're building. So yeah, you just have to watch your overlapping, the auction overlapping, to make sure that you're not, jeopardizing your costs, as in like you might be spending a lot more than you should. So that's what we have. All right. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I think it's already 10:33. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, if you want to learn with me, you can still join the 6-day challenge. Let me type. Am I able to type? Let me, okay, type up. Hang on. So this is the link to join my 6-day challenge. I'm not sure whether you're able to see this. Yeah, you can see this on YouTube, but you can't see this on my Facebook group. But don't worry, just go to my website, trevabacademy.com, and you look for the 6-day challenge, then you'll be able to join me. So we start tomorrow at 3:30 p.m. Malaysia time. However, if you're not able to join me live, it's okay. You can actually join. I can watch the replay later on. So that's what we should be doing. Yep, and Yongjia was saying, meaning that we shouldn't duplicate our winning ad sets using the same audience or scaling. Depends. It's not about duplicating, it's about controlling. So it depends on your practices. By reading this, I don't really get a whole idea, but yeah, you just have to watch that so-called overlapping over there. All right, thank you so much for watching. This is what we have here for the AMA Sunday night. If you like this, remember to share with your friends and say that, hey, this guy comes live every Sunday night at 10 p.m. to discuss Facebook advertising for half an hour. Bring your questions, okay? And remember, if you want to learn with me, click on the link below to join my 60 challenge. We start tomorrow. And I'll see you next week for the next AMA Sunday night, same time, 10 p.m. on the Sunday night. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.